Today, we speak with a bunch of children in the background playing loudly, and we talk about community. This is the Dude Catholic Podcast. Welcome to the Dude Catholic Podcast. I'm your co-host Adrian, here with the man who can count the stars of the sky. As a matter of fact, he does it 3 times every night before he goes to bed.
I'm Ramon.
Yes, you are. Today we continue a series titled Ain't So Bad, with an episode titled
We're fine.
Our scripture today comes from
The book of John, chapter 16, verse 33. I've told you this so that you might have peace in me. In the world you will have trouble, but take courage. I have conquered the world.
Delicious.
Delicious indeed. So let's get this podcast on the road. Now, today we're talking about community, which is the reason why we have the kids playing outside, so you can hear community active. No, it's really unplanned. They know to be quiet, which means that they're going to be as loud as they possibly can. So, that's just our background for today. But speaking of background, wait, no, this has nothing to do with background. But I don't know if you've seen any documentaries, any nature documentaries that involve the prey and the hunter. But usually, the prey that gets eaten is the one that strays from the group. If you've seen Gladiator, one of the coolest scenes is when Maximus gets everyone together and says, "So long as we stay together, we will survive." And whenever someone dispersed from the group, they got cut off, like real quick.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea behind this episode, that we are fine. It's not like, oh, we collectively are fine, but we collectively become all right. Become fine, if you may. I mean, we're already fine, but
This guy.
at least one of our listeners, Shaggy, knows that we're not, because we recorded a few weeks ago. That was such a good
That was good. That was good.
good one. We need to have him again.
Yeah. We are, right? Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, as soon as he gives us a go. But yeah, that's basically it, right? Like we get together and we become that stronghold that needs to exist in order for not just us to be okay, but those little ones that you hear in the background playing around, for them to be okay. Right? And so being present and having them as part of our lives is kind of a big deal, That's just the first point, right? That we that if we're together, we're gonna be safe. That if we're together, we're gonna be strong. As a matter of fact, it kind of reminds me of when we had Bear Wasnick in the podcast. So he mentioned that there was a wolf, and it was a nasty wolf, like always angry, always looking to kill, And the thing about that wolf is that it was a lone wolf. And a lot of the times in society, we glorify the lone wolf. The John Wicks of the world, who seem to be doing everything on their own. I don't know. I've never seen John Wick. I just heard it was a cool movie.
It's really good.
But yeah, you hear about all these dudes that just by themselves are able to evade any enemy, and even collective organizations that are out there to kill them. That's not a good life, dude. Like the lone wolf is miserable because the wolf is meant to be in a pack. And we are meant to be in a pack, and we're meant to be in a community. So our choice should be to become community with one another.
It goes both ways. We're trying to do God's work here, and it's imperative that we stay together in community, starting with your family. But I don't know if you guys are from, you got me thinking about this. I don't know if you guys know what African wolf dogs are. African wolf dogs are these little it's like a smaller hyena, and they look more like dogs. That's what they call them, dogs. but they're smaller than a hyena, and they're kind of thin. But they're extremely good hunters. The only problem is that they have to start eating the prey as they're hunting it, meaning the prey is still alive. It's a pretty brutal way of hunting. Yeah, because since they're smaller, hyenas take their grand prize, and so do lions. So they have to be extremely brutal in the way that they hunt. And I mean, nature is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that would be a very good comparison to what some of the stuff that the world has to offer. You know, the secular world.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems a bit extreme. And I don't recommend you guys go Google like these dogs. It's kind of brutal. I mean, if you know,
Graphic.
yeah, I'm sure you guys can handle the graphic stuff, but whatever. You know, you're a grown man. You do what you got to do. But
Parental discretion advised.
yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I know for us, we've had our spiritual battles, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good comparison. You know, if you like you said, Adrian, it's if you're not in community, the prowler will go get you when you're on your own.
Yep. And one of the scriptures that we had in one of the previous episodes some time ago was that the enemy is waiting like a lion, waiting to devour, like sweet.
And sour.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the next point. You know, choosing your tribe it's kind of an important thing, but not just any tribe. You know, you gotta make sure that you pick the people that are gonna be in your tribe. You know, you can't just pick a random person riding their bike in front of your house or anything. You know, it has to be done with a purpose. You know, you can't, like I said, you can't just pick a random person because they need to be of the same mindset. Otherwise, if you're just getting together, you're just gonna end up drinking beer and wasting time. You know, it won't be anything of meaning. It won't be anything that can bring positive change to other people's lives, especially those that really depend on you. You know, if your wife is not saying, "Hey, you're kind of a better guy after you hang out with your friends," then chances are it's not a good group.
Yeah, I have a very small group of friends, and you know them all. And sometimes we haven't gotten together in a while. And we have a cigar, and it's pretty cool because one of the guys brought this up, that his wife told him that he is a much better guy after he's had that cigar break with us.
Mm-hmm.
And right now he's kind of struggling. You know what? I wouldn't say struggling, but he's not 100%. He actually described it as he's at 80%, and it would be really good for us to get together. So whether it's with the group or not, I'll probably get together with him. And it's cool that he's choosing to be with a solid group of guys, because I remember one time he told me, and it's cool because he also brought up my name, but he said it about everybody in the group. You know, what would Mike do? What would Omar do? What would, you know, whatever. And it's pretty cool to know that my name was also included in that. Like, oh, what would this guy do? Like different situations at work, different situations with his family, different situations with his kid, with his kids rather. He's got two.
What would blank do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not just, you know, like, hey, it's cool that I'm held in high regard, but it's not you know, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that, I should say. There we go. Because it should be, you should be hanging out with people who you admire, people who you can look up to, people who would make a solid decision in a situation where there's danger or uncertainty. You know, and that's why you want to surround yourself with people who are like you or better than you. Well, because if you hold people in high regard, your mindset is going to be at a different place. You know, it's not going to be like, oh, what the heck would we do? Or, man, if you make every decision followed by a screw it, then chances are you need to reevaluate how you make those decisions. Saint Ignatius of Loyola has if you read his writings, like he has a lot of really really good information on discernment and on decision making and whatnot. And what I'm trying to say is that when you surround yourself with people who are solid decision makers, you're gonna be of the same ilk. And so you want to be that kind of person that people are saying, what would this person do? And that's why it's important to have a purpose when you meet up with people. If it's smoke a good cigar and have a good conversation, that's a good place to start. But let that initial conversation go in the direction that you want to go. Go in the direction that leads you all to a better place in life. And of course, since it's a men's podcast of men who happen to be Catholic, then I challenge you to actually have a conversation that leads back to God, that leads back to better ways of living out our family life. I have my differences with the Boy Scouts of America or Scouts of America, whatever they're called nowadays. I should know I'm a co-den leader, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about was that since my boy is in Boy Scouts and I'm a co-den leader, I went with him last weekend to go shoot some stuff. And I noticed that this time it was different than before. This time the kids were by themselves. Not really by themselves, they were supervised, by people that know better, because they were firing arrows and BB guns and whatnot. But it was mostly the boys leading each other. And that's one of the things that's different from Cub Scouts. From when they're Cub Scouts, they're like little, they're 4th grade and below. And my son's in 5th grade now, and so the things that are going to happen from this point on are all scout led. So they have their group, and they have a chant, and they have a leader, and they have all the activities, and they have to put everything together from now on. And for the dads, that was different, because the other dad that was there and myself, like, we were trying to get after our kids, because we wanted to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, because we know our kids. And they were like, nope, no, they're the 2x2 rule is in effect. There's more than 2 leaders at a time, and you can see them from a distance if you want, like over here in this corner you're able to see everything, but they're doing this by themselves, and it's mostly scout directed. And one of the things that I noticed in this generation of men, like I'm talking millennials and above, is that we're being given everything in such a way that we don't have to grow. We're being given everything in a way that we don't have to even form our pack the way that we should. That we've been saved from having to get our group together. Why? Because we get it together virtually. I see that a lot of guys, what they're doing instead of hanging out with people, is they're hanging out with people virtually. And it's very apropos for this situation that we're in quarantine and whatnot. But I think you know what, I'm gonna be a rebel and just say, oh, never mind. I don't know. I don't want to put you in any interesting positions, Ramon. I know no one listens to this. Of civil disobedience and whatnot. Because what you're hearing people tell you is, like, stay at home. Like, don't even go visit your family on Thanksgiving. Like, what the heck?
I swore to protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and the 14th Amendment says the opposite of what's going on right now.
The mic got hot. And you know what? And I much respect for that. It needs to be said. Like, we're getting a lot of liberty except for going to church and being with our family. Whenever someone's trying to alienate you from your faith and from your family, you need to alienate yourself from them and from following their directives, because their directives are against you, against your country, against your church, your faith, your God, ultimately. And so what I'm trying to say is that you should have a pack that is, I hate using the word woke, but woke enough to see what's actually happening. You need to have a group of people around you who can actually think and speak freely about these things without being ostracized from the group just because you have a differing idea. Because if you have a solid head on your shoulders, you're going to realize what's right and what's wrong, and you're going to be able to point it out. There's a reason why people are changing their minds nowadays. It's because they see reality for what it is, not for what the TV tells them. Because if you're working, if you are trying to do the best for your family, you're going to have a certain way of thinking. And what I'm asking you to do is to find others who have that same way of thinking and to grow from there.
I don't know how much value this is going to add, but it was very important to me, and this embodied what we're talking about. Last year I was in the academy still. I'm still very green, very fresh in the department.
Yeah, you were.
And even now, I'm still kind of new.
Yeah, but compared to then.
Oh yeah, but I was in the academy, and we had a run on Thanksgiving Day, and we were off that day. But it was cool because the instructor that was in charge of the fitness, long story short, he said, "You guys don't have to come. We can't make you come, but I'm gonna go for a run at this place at this time, and if you guys happen to be in the area, we can go for a run." Everybody showed up, and we ran, and it was cool because whatever, it was a nice run. It was the whole class, and it was raining and it was cold, and we decided to go there. And I will never forget this day for as long as I live, because it was one of the best days of my life. We had been going through a lot and together, and there was this brotherhood that was being formed because we were like brothers and sisters, and brothers and sisters fight a lot sometimes. But when there were those people that were falling behind on that run, they weren't left behind. They were rather encouraged, because it was raining, it was cold, it was our day off. We kept moving forward, and we did not let anyone fall behind. Everybody completed the run. After that, we, the instructors went into just human mode instead of being all rough, and we changed out of our clothes. We went into the stations, like not community area, but it was like a big break room basically, and we had coffee, and we got to see the instructors just being human beings and actually thanking us for coming on our day off and so forth. And one of them said, like, this is a beautiful little community that you guys are gonna step into, and like, just, you can feel the brotherhood right now. And then one of us, at the time, one of the recruits, he's like, "Hey, can I say a prayer?" And we all held hands like brothers and sisters. And it was not a religious it's not a religious organization, but it didn't matter if you were Christian or not, or we all held hands, and we all collectively thank God for bringing us all together in community to make ourselves better people, so that we can better serve everybody that we come in contact with, starting with our families. And to me, that's what it's all about, and to me, that's what makes that day one of the best days of my life.
Every time that I'm part of something meaningful, I end up meeting other people of faith. So when you said that, I'm like, dude, like, for example, when I worked for the food company, I remember that someone said something that I thought was ridiculous at the time, and maybe it still is, because you'll see. Well, someone said at one point when I was working at the Apple store that getting a job, any position at Apple, is harder than getting into an Ivy League school, and I'm like, man. But when I started thinking about it, like, we went through so many different interviews, and they didn't seem like interviews because they were really not trying to get at some random questions about what's the hardest thing you've ever done at a job, or how do you prove that you can be a leader, or anything like that. They're really just trying to get at, how do you treat people? And so what ended up happening was, when I was hired, like, yeah, you have your hipsters, you have this, you have that, but at the end of the day, like, I found that there's a lot of Christians there. Because the people that were being hired were the people that knew how to treat people like they were people, like they mattered. And the Christian is the one that has that mindset, that other people matter. That when people are treating you in such a way that's not recognizing your dignity, that it's not really you that they're probably mad at. They're just looking for a scapegoat. And to still treat them with kindness. Like, all these things are so natural for the Christian. Hard things are natural for the Christian. And they may seem extreme or extraordinary to the rest of the world, But there's a reason why there's so many Catholics in the military. There's a reason why there's so many Catholics in law enforcement. There's a reason why there's so many Catholics in volunteer organizations. It's because we are people of service. We are people who do rough things. We are people who do hard things. Not just because it's hard, but because it's worth it. And so when we get together, yeah, it's going to be hard to find a group of people that you agree with. Yeah, it's going to be hard to find a group of people that are worth hanging out with. But that's part of the process. And the reason why it's hard is because it's worth it. So pray for us.
And we'll pray for you.
Ferm
Ferro.
Aquitur. That what you... Okay.